Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for your practice today. Nothing is required apart from some space to move in. I am, however, sat up on a block, so if there's anything you need to elevate your seat, feel free to pause me and grab it now. When we're ready, we'll find our way into a comfortable seat. Your comfortable seat may be cross-legged or any other place you'd like to be, legs in front, mermaid pose, sat on our heels. Get yourself situated and allow yourself to arrive to your practice today. Maybe we close the eyes, or perhaps we soften the gaze past the nose. And allow yourself to take a lovely deep breath in and sigh it out. Starting already to become more aware of the flow of your breath. And using the observation of this to help us to ground and settle. This will also help us move forward with being able to be aware of our body, our mind, our energy throughout our practice, so we know what's going to serve us best as we move through our sequence. If your eyes are closed, I invite you, if you wish, to still stay with them closed or at least gently soft, as we begin to invite a little bit of gentle movement. And we'll start with our right palm faced up, the right upper arm right next to the side of the body. Left hand will take behind the back. And it might be that the left fingertips are long enough or reaching long enough that they can fit in the right elbow crease. If this isn't the case, never fear. The back of the hand can be on the low back or the sacrum. Thinking of inhaling to rise up through the crown of the head. And as we exhale, we'll bring our right ear towards our right shoulder. Maybe noticing here a stretching sensation along the left-hand side of the neck, maybe the top of the shoulder, or for some, we might really feel this down in between the shoulder blades. There's an option here to stay still, or perhaps we begin to move as if we've got a paintbrush on our nose and we're painting a picture. The directions we move in don't need to have a rhyme or a reason or a particular destination. Just allowing yourself to move slowly, freely, exploring the sensation here in this space. And perhaps you find that sweet spot that you want to hold for a breath or two. Bringing ourselves back through center. Release where the hands are currently and do a swap so that the left palm is faced up, left arm by the side of the body, and our right fingertips, perhaps they reach to fit inside the left elbow crease. But again, don't worry if it doesn't. We can always pop the hand behind the back body. Inhaling to reach up through the crown of the head and exhaling left ear to left shoulder. And once more, perhaps we choose to stay still, or maybe we paint that picture. Being mindful that we don't have to do the same on both sides, or one side might need something different to the other. Maybe if you notice that this side is different, you think about why. We'll take our last breath here before coming back through center. We're going to come into some side stretches. I prefer to come off my block for these, but obviously feel free to do as you will with your own props. We're going to take our right fingertips down to the right hand side of us. The left palm will face up on the left hand side, inhaling the left arm up and over, finding a side stretch. Sometimes I like to kind of work myself in here, pulsing in and out. And then I find whether the right fingertips are going to stay down, the right palm, or maybe moving towards the right forearm. This is a nice place for a prop if perhaps the forearm's quite close to the ground, but not quite there yet. And maybe we stay with this long line grounding down through the left sit bone, reaching through the left fingertips, or perhaps we choose to take a bit of movement here as well. So maybe we reach the left fingertips out on a diagonal, somewhere on a diagonal from the right knee. You can always move the hand around in space to figure out where, again, that sweet spot is. And perhaps the movement moves to sweeping overhead, back from where we came from, and moving slightly back. So here we're opening up the front of the shoulder, a little stretch for the obliques. Perhaps training in and out on this spectrum in your own time, your own pace. Or there might again be a spot where you wish to linger. Feel free to take time and space to do that if necessary. The next time we come up and over, we'll bring ourselves back through center, taking this time the left fingertips down, right palm faced up, inhaling up and over. Working into that side body space, finding length from the right hip crease all the way to the right fingertips. Deciding again where the left hand wants to go. Does it stay on fingertips, palm, or move towards the forearm? Trying to keep integrity in your right sit bone. And maybe we're still, maybe we move. We move, we'd reach on a diagonal. It might be a slightly different trajectory to the other side. Then up overhead. Maybe taking the arm back, spiraling the heart towards the sky, feeling an openness along the front of the shoulder, the side body, the side of the rib cage. Moving in and out here in your own time, your own pace. It can be slow, it can be fast, or somewhere in between. And then through to the middle. We'll find our way now coming to our seated twists. And seated twist-wise, again, any comfortable seat. We'll inhale to rise up through the crown of the head, and we're going to exhale to twist towards our right. So the right hand is going to be on fingertips behind, and we might find that the left hand is somewhere towards the right thigh. Here we'll take our inhales to reach up through the crown of the head and ground down through the sit bones, and exhale to find a twist. Inhaling up and exhaling to twist. Bearing in mind that the movement may be small, the twisting may be gradual. Allowing yourself to be in this space. Noticing how that twisting sensation feels. We'll bring ourselves back through center, maybe taking a little fold here. It doesn't have to be all the way down to the ground. I quite like opening the palms, whether they sit in the lap or they're on the floor in front of me. And bowing the head down, just allowing ourselves to come back to center. And slowly beginning to roll ourselves back up for our twist to the other side. So inhaling to rise up through the crown of the head, and exhaling this time to twist towards your left. So the left hand will be on fingertips behind, helping you to find that lift, and the right hand will be on the top of the left thigh. Use or utilize your breath here to help you twist round as if you're walking up a spiral staircase. This is the point where I try not to breathe too heavily into the camera microphone. And coming back round through to the middle. We'll make our way onto all fours. So in our all fours, we're just going to do a little wake up of the wrists and maybe a bit of the hips as well. We'll take the wrists roughly underneath the shoulders and the knees roughly underneath the hips. Spread the fingers wide, plant the fingerprints down. A little pressing down firmly of the fingerprints like little gecko finger pads suctioning down. And we'll start to do little circles. I say circles, it might look more like an oval or a weird triangle. Perhaps knocking hips slightly side to side. And coming over, leaning forward. An option here to change the direction of where the fingers are pointing, so maybe side to side. Sometimes I do a little side to side shimmy here and then a back and forth in the circles. And always an option to perhaps take the fingers back towards the knees. So you might find it nicer to shimmy the knees forward if that's quite an intense sensation. It just decreases the angle in the wrists. Alternatively, you can sit back and pull the hand back to get that stretch along that line. It might be that the movements here are non-existent or perhaps a little bit smaller than any of the circles we were doing before. Although that's me speaking for most of the population, there may be people who find this place more easy to be mobile in. Amazing. If the wrists need a little bit of love and care, you can always grab one wrist and put the hand in a fist, doing little circles. And do the same with the other, a little shake out. Amazing. Coming on to hands and knees, I'm going to shimmy back so I've got a little bit of space in front of me. We're going to come to our reaching puppy pose. So slightly dynamic movement, then followed by the symmetrical puppy, but we'll start asymmetrically first. So I'm going to come onto the outside edge of my right hand with the right fingertips still pointing forward. Inhale in, and as we exhale, draw the right fingertips forward down on the side of the hand as we start to look out towards the left, bowing down on the right hand side. So this left hand is super, super strong here. Press down through the left hand to drive yourself back up to all fours, then swap sides. Outside of the left hand, left fingertips reach forward as you look to the right, really, really feeling that length along the outside line of that left arm, left armpit, left side body. Press down through the right hand, drawing back up. Now we'll start to move at our own pace. So I need to exhale as I come down and inhale to come up, but it doesn't matter if you swap the inhales and exhales with the different movements. Trying to keep the bum roughly above the knees as we do this, so the movement is coming from stretching and reaching along the side body rather than the hips leaning forward to compensate. It doesn't matter if you don't go as far. Maybe thinking of pressing down firmly. Starting to move now into our puppy pose. So we'll walk the left hand forward, then the right, and continue this left, right, as we begin to melt the heart down towards the mat. Now it might be that the forehead comes to the earth, or perhaps it stays lifted or lands on a prop, as we melt the heart down towards the earth. Taking a few rounds of breath here. If we feel like we're shifting quite far forward, then maybe coming back up and coming back in, but trying to keep the hips above the knees. Again, staying strong through the legs, so maybe firmly pressing down through the tops of the feet or actively curling the toes under. Noticing the difference between our asymmetric reaching puppy and now the availability that we find in our puppy pose. Beginning to walk the hands back so the wrists are roughly underneath the shoulders. We're going to find ourselves in what's known as bird dog pose. A little bit of a wake up and weaving a bit of core integrity. So we're going to start by taking our left foot behind us, curling the toes under. I do really like to do a rock back and forth here. Nice for the wrists and for feeling a stretch along the back of that left leg. We're going to try and keep rib cage to hips here rather than finding any form of back bend. And when we're ready, we'll inhale in and exhale, see if we can start to lift the left toes away from the ground. Option here whether you have a stompy back foot or whether you point through the toes. Maybe this is where we stay and breathe, or you have the option of coming onto the left fingertips or reaching. Oh, excuse me, left fingertips, that would be funny, wouldn't it? A bit of a wobble. Maybe coming onto the right fingertips. Aren't you glad that I noticed that before I had us lift up the arm? Or reaching the right fingertips forward. I'm actually not going to edit that out. It's always nice to have a little bit of a chuckle. Here we are, maybe still hopefully laughing, and that's distracting you from being in your bird dog pose. Reaching through the crown of the head, reaching through the fingertips and reaching back through either the heel or the toes. Another deep breath in here, strong through the arm that's grounded, the left hand, and gently release down. Maybe patting out the hands a little bit like you're a cat on the mat, just to release a bit of the intensity in the left arm. No worries, because that's going to be the one that we might lift this time. When we're ready, curling the right toes under behind us, and again, that little shimmy back and forth if that feels nice. Maybe a moment to pause. I put my hand to kind of like my rib cage, my belly, to make sure that I'm not flaring. And lift the right toes off the ground. It doesn't have to go particularly high, that back leg. We just want to keep that nice integrity in the core. Now maybe coming on to the left fingertips, maybe reaching the left fingertips forward. And you might notice that I'm looking down to the front of my mat rather than in the direction of my fingertips. So I've got a naturally long line from the crown of the head to the tail. Breathing here firm through our 2 points of contact that are remaining on the earth. Or 3 if the left hand is still on fingertips rather than reaching forward. Gently releasing everything down. We'll take some cat-cows here, maybe moving into a swooping cat before we continue. So for our cat-cow, we'll inhale to curl the tailbone up, belly button down towards the ground, reaching the heart forward through the upper arms, throat open, gaze up. And as we exhale, we'll curl the tailbone under, hug the belly button up and in, push in between the shoulders, chin to chest. Inhaling to round and open up along the front body. And exhaling to curl and hug everything up and in. As we do this, so we'll carry on for a few rounds of breath. Still think of having that nice strong foundation now through our 4 points of contact. So rather than bending into the elbows or necessarily shimmying through the heels, we'll be firmly planted, rooted so that the spine can move. And when we finished our next cat pose, we'll come to pause for a moment. In the middle, in our all fours, maybe coming to a swooping cat variation. So we have the option of continuing with our normal cat-cow or taking the knees slightly wider, maybe big toes to touch. Swooping cat. I tend to inhale here in a neutral position and then exhale, curl tailbone under, hug belly button up and then push in between the shoulder blades, chin to chest. And as I find that peak of my angry cat, I start to shift the bum towards the back heels, doesn't matter how close it goes. As I begin my inhale, really pressing down firmly through the mat, we're going to reach ourselves forwards. This is the swooping action. As we start to come up, opening up the chest, the heart, reaching it forward, gaze up to the sky. Exhaling, curling everything up and in. Again, think of that angry cat pose as the bum shifts back towards the heels. The inhale is swooping forward, opening up across the front body. Finding some nice movement here, hopefully through the hips as well as the spine. And we'll start to feel this waking up through the arms. We do a lot of push in yoga, so it's really nice to find a bit of pull. Just to work into some other muscles, hopefully to find a bit of balance. And the next time that our bum has come back towards our heels, feel free to take a moment here in a child's pose. You can always take the arms behind you with the palms faced up so that we can relax the wrists, the shoulders, and the arms for a moment. Taking a couple breaths here. Noticing how the body feels after the work we've done so far. Maybe instead of saying the work we've done so far, I should say the play that we've engaged in so far. Work can make it sound like it's something that we don't want to be doing or we feel we have to do. Shifting forward into our all fours. We're going to find our way into a down dog by first coming through a little knee hover. So wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're going to curl the toes under behind us. Inhale in and exhale a little hover of the knees. Pushing firmly down through the base of the palm, the base of the thumb, eyes of the elbows shining forward. Feeling a little bit of wake up, maybe a little bit of a shake. And then we're going to push the belly towards the top of the thighs. So we find this kind of bouncy, pouncy position. And then peel the tailbone up and back, downward facing dog. So here we want the tailbone to be reaching up almost as if it's trying to find that line in between the ceiling and the wall behind us. And feel free to pedal the feet here again, waking up through the backs of the legs. When we're ready, we'll start to walk our feet up towards our hands. It doesn't matter how big or small the steps are, how long the journey takes, but we'll find ourselves in a forward fold at the front of the mat. Knees can be generously bent here so that we're helping to release the weight of the head down rather than looking forward and straining in the neck. You can always take a dangle, maybe grabbing opposite elbows if the hands come somewhere towards the ground. And we'll begin to roll ourselves up to standing. We can do this nice and slowly. Take your time as if you're moving through treacle. And last but not least, roll the shoulders up, back and down, and move the chin away from the chest. We're going to find a bit of equal standing here before we come into some sun salutation-y style flowy movement or movements. Find your hip distance to begin. If you prefer to have the feet close together, obviously feel free to do that for a flow or wider for balance. And we'll find our rough hip distance. You can always find your hip points and draw a line straight down. Equally, fists together in between the arches of the feet is your true hip distance. We're going to take a moment here just to rock back and forth. Maybe hearing a little click. I don't know if the camera would have picked that up. Maybe prancing the feet slightly. Just to become aware of the feet in contact with the earth and start to wake up through all of those muscles that we have in our feet. Maybe settling the feet down, allowing the toes to lift. Even though it might not look like anything's happening, we can imagine spreading the toes wide, really waking up through the arches of the feet, and then gently place them all down. We'll try not to grip through the toes, as it tends to mean that we're not breathing. Amazing. We're going to do a little heel toe, heel toe, heel toe to take the feet roughly as wide as your mat. I'm side on just so you can see. And as we inhale, we're going to reach the arms up towards the sky, and we're going to grab our right wrist with our left hand. And we'll inhale again to stand up really, really, really tall. And as we exhale, we're going to lean over towards the left. So it's again the left hand that's reaching the right wrist over to the right hand side. Completely normal to feel a little bit of an engagement again of the core. Inhale in And as we exhale, we're going to start to kind of twist and turn to look towards those left toes and begin to fold towards the left toes as if you want to give them a little tap or a little tickle. Maybe feeling more of an intense hamstring stretch along the back of the left leg. As we come down near the toes, we'll come to the middle and slowly roll ourselves up. When we get to the top, we'll inhale the arms up, this time grabbing our left wrist with our right hand. Another big inhale to stand up super, super, super tall, and exhale to lean over towards the right. It's okay if the left hip knocks out towards the left. Another inhale here, and as we exhale, start to turn to look towards those right toes. We'll start to fold down towards them as if we want to give them a little tap. Coming through to the middle and rolling ourselves up. Through center. Shoulders roll, then chin away from chest. Finding ourselves, if we went sideways like I did a second ago, at the front of our mat, so if we weren't already there, to find our, as I said, a sun salutation-esque flow. There will be some variations that I add along the way. When we're ready, we'll inhale the arms out and then up. Think of squeezing the glutes, hip points forward, reaching hands towards the sky. On an exhale, hands together down through heart center to forward fold. Knees can be generously bent. Inhale, halfway lift or flat back. Think of taking the shoulders away from the ears, squeezing the shoulder blades together down the back body. Fingertips or hands can land wherever they need to on the legs or the floor. Reach forward through the crown of the head, back through the tail. Very similar to our bird dog position. Another inhale in here, and as we exhale, bend the knees, forward fold, palms or fingertips towards the ground. We're first going to step our right leg back and plant our right knee down. Right hand can come to the earth or a prop, and the left hand's going to come inside the left leg, and we're gently going to guide that left leg away from us. This may be a small or a big movement depending on you, and you can always adjust that front left foot so that it's maybe on the side edge of the foot like mine, or it might be that the toes are just pointing in a different direction. There's always the option to come down on the right forearm if we find that we're quite open through the hips and we want to look for a sensation if we're not feeling one. I like to kind of twist towards the left. Some people prefer to reach their heart forward. Taking another breath here. We'll draw the leg back in towards that central position it kind of started at, and we're going to find some half splits. So whether you curl the back toes under, have the back foot flat to the ground, completely up to you. Inhale in, and as we exhale, our bum's going to move towards that back heel as we start to straighten through the front leg. Straightening through the front leg is completely relative. Maybe the hands are on the floor, maybe hands heart center. Think of the toes coming towards the face. We're going to find a little bit of movement here, back and forth. Option whether you keep the hands on the ground or you begin to flow through hands free. We're going to inhale to come forward to that low lunge we started at, but reaching the fingertips perhaps up to the air if we wish them to leave the ground. On an exhale, we're going to come back to our half split. Think airplane arms, fingertips reaching behind you nice and open through the collarbone. Inhales, we reach forward. Think of that right hip and left hip squaring off to the front of the mat. And exhaling, we come into our half split airplane arms. You can experiment with the palms face down or the palms faced up. And running through this for a couple more rounds of your breath. Feel free if you need to make adjustments with the width of the stance, or if you need to use props or the hands to do so. Next time we're in our lunge, we'll place the hands down, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and we're going to find a bouncy bend in that back foot. Think of driving or reaching forward so we can step the right foot next to the left, forward fold. Inhaling, we'll reach the arms out and up, and exhale, hands to heart center. When we're ready, inhaling the arms up, And exhale, hands together down through heart center to fold. Inhaling, halfway lift or flat back, your version. And exhaling to hinge and fold, palms or fingertips towards the ground. We'll inhale this time to step the left leg back, plant the left knee. Left hand also plants, and right hand's going to come to the inside of the right foot, or the right hip, the right thigh, and we'll guide it away. You might be looking more out towards the right, we might be looking forward. Perhaps we think of sinking the left hip point down towards the earth to feel sensation in both of our hips. Drawing the leg back through center. When we're ready, finding a half split. So bum towards the back heel, starting to straighten through the front leg. And both sides of our body are going to be very different to one another. So take a moment to just settle in here and find the shape. Find the sensation. Here's our option to hands-free flow or hands-down flow. Inhaling, we'll reach up to come forward into our low lunge. And exhale, airplane arms, half splits. Inhaling to reach up. And exhaling to reach back as we fold forward. Doing this for a few rounds of breath in your own time, at your own pace. No worries if we have to put the hands down, embracing the wobble, the uncertainty. And the next time we're in that low lunge, take the hands down, maybe either side of the front foot if we have the space. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, bouncy bend in that back foot as we step the left foot forward to meet the right, forward fold. Inhaling the arms up to the sky. And exhaling hands to heart center. We're going to have a little play around now with a slightly different take on like sun salutations A, where we have our feet a bit wider on the mat, which you might find an interesting place to explore and see how that works for your proportions. So when we're ready, we're going to inhale the arms up and exhale, hands together through heart center as we fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale to fold, palms or fingertips towards the ground. We're going to step back into a downward facing dog this time. You can transition into a plank first, then up and back to down dog, or all fours, knee hover, up and back down dog. Whatever works best for you. And from our down dog, we're going to reach our right leg up towards the sky, maybe put a bend in the right knee, as we begin to step the right foot towards the outside of the right hand. Taking our back knee, our left knee down towards the earth. Left hand plants, very similar to what we've done before, but this time we're going to reach the right fingertips up towards the sky. When we're ready, right hand's going to plant down towards the earth, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and we're going to have a bouncy bend in that back knee as we step the left foot towards the outside of the left hand. Sumo wrestler squat move. Maybe the fingertips or hands are towards the earth. We're now going to lift the torso up while keeping the squat in the legs. Active squat. Inhale in, exhale, hands together, heart center. We straighten the legs. Inhale the arms up towards the sky. And exhale to sit on down into our active squat. We'll take the hands or fingertips towards the earth. Again, we're going to step our left leg back, left knee down, finding that twist that we found a second ago. Left hand to the earth, right fingertips up towards the sky. The right hand is going to come down and we're going to find a half split. So again, a slightly wider version. Bum towards the back heel. Maybe we keep the toes facing up towards the sky, or maybe we allow them to come down towards the right hand side. You can always slightly knock the hips to the side here too. Maybe finding a different sensation in our half split with the foot wider. Maybe with the toes out towards the side. Amazing. Shifting ourselves back forward, plant the palms, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee. We're going to step ourselves up and back, downward facing dog. This time left leg lifts, bend in the left knee, step the left foot outside, the left hand will plant the right knee down, right hand plants, left fingertips towards the sky. On an exhale, both hands come down towards the ground inside the front foot. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee. That bouncy, bouncy bend in the back knee as we sumo wrestler squat. Right hand to the outside, or right foot to the outside of the right hand. Start to allow the torso to reach forward, hands to reach forward. Inhale in, exhale, hands together, heart center, straighten the legs. Inhale the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, hands together, down through heart center, active squat. We'll fold, hinge forward to take the hands towards the earth, taking the right leg back once more, right knee down to the ground, right hand plants, left fingertips towards the sky. Left hand comes down inside the left foot as we find our half splits now, our slightly wider versions, and feel free if you want something a little bit different to turn the toes towards the left. It might be that the hips move towards the right. That's absolutely fine as long as that sensation works for you. Slightly different take on our half splits. Coming back through center, shifting forward, curling the back toes under, lifting the back knee, plant the palms, step up and back, downward facing dog. Something a little different here to find our next flow or transition into it. The right leg's going to lift. Bend in the right knee. This time, we might come up on the left toes, so we've got a bit of space. The right knee's going to move towards the nose, so we can step the right foot in between the hands, proportions allowing, of course. We'll pivot on the back toes, the left toes. So the left toes are facing the long edge of the mat, right toes towards the short edge. Keep a bend in the right knee, firm foundation, pressing down through both feet as we rise up, hip points facing the long edge of the mat also. Arms come out at shoulder height, finding our warrior two. Inhaling in here and exhaling, maybe to find a little bounce, a little buoyancy. Looking out past the front middle finger. We're going to find some movement here. So as we inhale, we're going to flip the palms up towards the sky, start to straighten through the front leg and bring the arms overhead. As we exhale, we're going to start to bend through the front knee. Arms come down. They might even come down together. I say it kind of underneath you, but like a mirrored reflection of up above. Inhaling to open up those wings, reach up towards the sky, straighten the front leg, and exhaling to come down. Feel free to find any manner of movement, pace. The arms can float in all sorts of different ways. We're just finding that that strong foundation is then giving us that ability to then move and flow freely. Next time the front leg is straight, the arms are up towards the sky. Right toes will also pivot towards long edge of the mat. You might take a slightly shorter stance if your stance was quite wide. Star pose, arms at shoulder height. Then we're going to click the heels in, toes out, shimmy, 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 as if you're sitting down on a chair directly underneath you, goddess pose. I'm quite liking at the moment having the hands inside the thighs, pushing away, so I can feel like I'm reaching my collarbones forward, but cactus arms, heart center, all very good choices here. Inhale in and exhale out. I'm going to take the heels back out, click the toes in this time, and hinge forward at the hips to find a wide-legged forward fold. Anywhere where you can release the weight of the head down, it doesn't matter if the hands touch the floor, they might hold on to the legs instead. And slowly, slowly, slowly bringing ourselves back up. We're going to turn our left toes now to face the back of the mat or the short edge of the mat. Bend into the left knee. to find warrior 2 on the other side, so arms shoulder height. Maybe noticing what it felt like to work from the ground up compared to like ground down. Is that what I mean? Who knows? Basically coming into warrior 2 in a different way, either from down dog and pressing firmly down through the ground, or from being stood up and coming down into warrior 2. I feel like that works. Then we'll find our movement, inhaling to strain through the front leg, arms up towards the sky, and exhaling to bend in, maybe allowing the hands to meet down below, opening up the wings, finding our little dance. And breathing here, flowing, finding some freedom in your movement. And the next time the arms are up high, we'll turn all toes to face the long edge of the mat. No goddess this time, but we're going to take karate chop hands to our hip creases and think hinge, 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 a nice flat back. Maybe you stay here, the hands can always come to the outside of the legs, or maybe you wish to release and fold again. All choices that you can make. Whether you need to come up slightly to do so, we're going to walk our hands towards our front right foot as the right toes turn towards the front of the mat. We'll pivot on the back toes, bouncy back foot, step forward to forward fold. Inhaling the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling hands to heart center. Amazing. We'll take a couple of balances, or we'll take a balance, and then we'll come down to the mat. So I will face you just for demonstration purposes. So starting again with that equal standing, finding whether it's hip distance, feet together, or a bit wider, that helps you to feel strong and stable through your foundations. We're going to plant through the left leg, being mindful not to lock out through the knee. We want that little kind of like bouncy bend again, so that if we get blown in the wind, like a tree might get, we've got our roots that are quite flexible, allowing us to sway, but remain rooted, rather than locking up and toppling over. We're going to come on to the right like ball of the foot, or the right toes. Think of broadening through the collarbones, and when we're ready, we'll inhale to lift the right knee up. You can always grab a hold here if you prefer. When we're ready, we're going to guide the right leg open towards the side and find a place for the right foot to land. So it might be that the toes are on the ground, or we're on the inside of the bottom of the leg, inside of the calf/shin. If we're by the knee, make sure the arch of the foot's by the knee, so we're not pressing firmly into the actual knee itself, or maybe higher up on the inside of the thigh. You might choose hands heart center, those more open arms that we kind of did for our goddess. Chin mudra. Trying to remember to breathe. Although yes, that does make you move. And we're going to see if we can gently release. You can guide with your hands. Maybe you can pluck the foot away from the leg, drawing it back to the middle, and plant it gently down. Feel free to stretch through the tops of the feet. Might feel particularly nice on the foot that was just grounded. And we'll come straight to the other side. Sole of the right foot down to the ground. Nice bouncy bend in the right knee. On the left toes, lifting the left knee up. Maybe grabbing a hold if we can, or we wish, or allowing to float. Finding our balance before guiding the leg out, and planting the foot wherever it wishes to go on this side. We choose slightly different arms here. The balance is different. The arms can help in a slightly different way. Once again, maybe noticing how one side is different to the other, or noticing if it's a balanced day or not. Particularly if you're doing this practice first thing in the morning, it can always be quite quite interesting to notice how the practice differs from any classes you may go to at night. Gently releasing, maybe plucking. Ooh, not as gentle on that side. Leg through to the middle, planting down, maybe a little shimmy. You can do some circles with the ankles. And then we'll come on down to our backs. And when we're on our backs, we'll have our knees bent and soles of the feet on the floor. Think here of maybe lifting up the back body and allowing the low back to nuzzle down towards the earth to settle against the ground. And we'll find our reclined pigeon. So we'll take our right leg and we're going to cross it over the top of the left thigh. This might be enough to get into your right glute, or you might need to gently start to lift the left foot away from the ground so the thighs come closer towards the body. Still try to keep the low back down, or at the very least the sacrum, so that we're getting this hinging action to feel more in the glutes. If the hands are long enough, you might interlace them behind the left thigh, or you might interlace them on top of the left shin. Sometimes I use my right elbow, or it could be your right palm, to gently guide the right thigh away as I hug the left thigh further in. And taking a couple rounds of breath here. Release the interlace of the hands. If you had one, we'll come to a gentle twist. Sole of the right foot outside of the left leg is going to come down towards the ground on your left hand side. It might be that the right knee is kind of pointed up towards the sky, or you might fold it under the left leg, so it's pointing more out to the side of the room, depending on the intensity of the twist you would like. And then we'll gently bring ourselves back through center. Right leg is going to kick up towards the sky. You might have a bend in the left knee still, or you might straighten the leg, and we're just going to grab somewhere behind the right leg, finding a stretch through the hamstring. Gently releasing. Sole of the right foot down, left leg crosses over the top of the right thigh. Figure 4 on the other side. So we'll start to lift perhaps the right foot away from the ground, maybe interlacing somewhere on the leg. This is a prime example of how I'm different on this side compared to the other one, as I'm interlacing behind the thigh rather than on top of the shin. Taking a couple breaths here, easing yourself into this stretch. Releasing the interlace if you had one. Sole of the left foot outside of the right leg might come down towards the earth. If you want a slightly more intense twist, it might be that you kind of slide that left leg a bit underneath the right. I like to take my right hand to the outside of the left thigh to find a twisting sensation. Releasing and coming back through the middle. This time left leg up towards the sky. You can grab it wherever you wish, along the leg or peace fingers, big toe. I'm taking a couple breaths here. Gently releasing to find your place for Shavasana, wherever you might like that to be. I'll take constructive rest with my feet nice and wide, knees in towards one another. Maybe the palms open up towards the sky so the shoulders are open too. Finding your place to settle once more. To arrive in awareness. this time maybe an awareness of the last hour-ish. And how the body feels now. I invite you to take as long as you need here, and maybe a little bit longer. I'll say bye. Namaste. Thank you very much for your practice today.